Okay, today's daf is daf Hey, and we're going to start about 5 lines down. So let's segue into the daf. We saw a shita of Rab yesterday. Rab said that a carbon that's brought to do something and doesn't do it is loy oil l'bayim b'shem chayva. He said three cases. He said the case of carbon, Asham Mitzayra and Asham Nazir, and he said the case of Minchas Omer. We're going to focus solely on Minchas Omer, right? So he said Minchas Omer shaloi l'shma. If you bring it, it doesn't do the job, and because something that is bo lahatir to matter something or to go ahead and be machsha something, it doesn't do the job. Again, we dealt with the hachshara and we dealt with hatara. So this is Rav Shita. So shaloi lishma, when you go ahead and you bring a minchas oime shaloi lishma, it doesn't count at all. It's not good at all. We're going to see two more shitas today: the shita of Reish Lakish and the shita of Rava. Okay, the shita of Reish Lakish and the shita of Rava regarding an oime shaloi lishma. And in fact, Rav had been slugged up from a brisa. We saw Rav Tanu Polig, why the Gemara Givat Teretz. Interesting. So starting from 4 or 5 lines down on Heyom and Aleph. Reb Shimon ben Lakish Amar, Minchas Oime shekomsa shaloi lishma, kshera, it's kasha, it's a good carbon. However, b'shirecha ein ne'achalin, and the shirayim can't be eaten at shetavi minchas oime acheres v'tatirena. Okay, so let's go through the Minchas Omer. Again, I repeat it often, but again, learning is a lot of repetition because some people forget. The purpose of the Omer is to mata the Chadash. In other words, you have the winter crop, everyone says, oh, it's Kemach Yoshin. What's mean Kemach Yoshin, right? What's mean Kemach Yoshin? What does it mean? It means that this wheat had, an Omer had passed in its life. This wheat had an Omer passed in its life, and therefore it's considered yasham because you're not able to eat from chadash. You can't eat from chadash. It's a lav. What does it do? It goes ahead and matters it. So Rab said this carbon doesn't do anything. It doesn't matter anything. It doesn't count for anything. Reish Lakish takes it one step further. He says it's a good carbon. It's a good carbon. However, the shirayim can't be. It doesn't matter shirayim. The leftover after you the kamitza of the barley, which is brought from barley. After you the kamitza of the barley, it's the rest of the shirayim will not be able to be eaten. As I state, that's a chiddush. So it's similar to what we used to. We say is kasha, right? And kol Menachos. So in other words, Reish Lakish is saying this is no different than any other mincha. This is no different than any other mincha, with one exception. Usually the mincha, you could eat the shirayim. The Baal's going to have to bring another one, but the shirayim could be eaten. It's in other words, the carbon has done is finished, except the one who made the neder nedava is going to have to bring another one. Over here, he's saying less. It's a kosher carbon, right? In other words, you can burn the kaimitz, guys. That's what it means. You can burn the kaimitz. However, you can't eat the shirayim. You can't eat the shirayim. That, as I state, that's the chiddush of Reish Lakish. So he's different than Rav. Rav answered the whole thing. He's only answering the shirayim, but in fact, you could burn the kaimitz because the carbon mat is a good carbon. That's what Reish Lakish is saying.
Now, this is the problem that the carbon was a mertz, or is the problem that the chadash wasn't matter yet? By not bringing it the right way, the chadash wasn't.
Okay, so Benji brings up a good point. Is it a kachim dikadin or yeridei dikadin? Now, is it a kachim dikadin or is it yeridei dikadin? Okay, in other words, als kachim, the chayra, it should be good because if they tell me it's a good carbon. The problem the chayra is that you didn't have a heta for the chadash. So it's a mashma from the Gemara, you didn't have a heta for the chadash. Why? Because you bring another one that day, then it works. So in other words, I bring one at whatever time, and then I bring another, I can't eat the shirayim. However, once you bring that other one, it's going to matter the shirayim. Once you bring another one, it's going to matter the shirayim. Okay, so now, There is a halacha, fellas, that a korban has to be bought from Mashke Yisrael. It's a pasuk in Yecheskel. It has to be from, literally means the feast of Yisrael. But it's one of the terms that you never translate. There's certain things you just didn't you use the Hebrew term all the time. Mashke Yisrael, from the feast of Yisrael, meaning you cannot bring a korban mat from something that is not mutter. So here's your problem. The problem is this oimer that was kosher, but you came to Shirayim, right? I have a problem. Makrav hechi karva. How am I able to bring it? How is I able to bring that first korban? In other words, you did the Kemitza Shloy Lishma. How was I able to put it in? Since this korban is not mutter, and it won't be mutter, it's not Mashke Yisrael. It says, Mi Mashke Yisrael, Min Mutter Li Yisrael. For a little explanation of Mashke Yisrael, let's look at the Shita Mukabetzes Dalet, guys. Shita Mukabetzes Dalet. Gillian, Pirish Ahukra, Nechsiv, V'seh Achas Minat Soin, Min HaMesayim. This is a pasuk in Yecheskel, Mi Mashke Yisrael. That's the pasuk. V'seh Achas Minat Soin, Min HaMesayim, Mi Mashke Yisrael, Umashvinan Kula Kro L'Drosha, Mi Mashke Yisrael. What does Mashke Yisrael mean? Min HaMutter Yisrael. Mutter LaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Mizbeach. Right? Mutter LaHakra L'Mizbeach. V'loi min ha'asal Yisrael. So this is, guys, you see that stands for Harav Rabbeinu Gershon Ma'or HaGoyla. You want to that's what it stands for. Hagoyin Rabbeinu Gershon Ma'or HaGoyla. So Rabbeinu Gershon tells us that it has to be, the korban has to be Mashke Yisrael. So let's go through this. You're telling me that this korban would be mutter to eat. So how can I go ahead and bring it? L'chayr, it's not Mashke Yisrael. Now, you might ask, what about any other korban oimer, guys? Any other korban oimer is brought from Chodesh. How do you bring any korban oimer? It's not Mashke Yisrael. He goes, so what happens then is the Rashba says, again, I have this, thanks to Yudi Greenwald, fellas. Yudi gave me the Sefer a million years ago, and it has the Rashba in it. It's a Sefer Sekanim on Kodshim. And he says there, it's Gita v'yoda b'yim ke'echad. It comes vas achas when you bring the oimer. At that time, it's mutter, so it's considered mashki Yisrael. It's considered, that's when it's bought correctly. But over here, where it's not bought correctly, l'chayr, it's not mashki Yisrael. So how in the world are you able to bring it? As I Fred the Gemara. So Fred the Gemara kasha.
Mashke Yisrael. Say it again. What does it mean?
Me mashki Yisrael. Literally, if you look it up in the art scroll, the feast of Yisrael. But if you take a look. The feast, F-E-A-S-T. A feast. Nista feast in Yiddish. A feast. A feast. But again, that's why I put you to Shita. I put you to Shita Dalit. He explains it. The Shita, underline that. Or circle the Dalit in your Gemara. So that tells you there's a lot of Shitas. You go look up that. He tells you the pasuk. And the pasuk says, "Me mashki Yisrael, me mutta be Yisrael." In other words, it has to be from something that Yisrael could eat. And since this is something Yisrael can't eat, l'chayr it's problematic. Okay, Amra v'ada barava, b'mashkal min mutta be Yisrael. So it's a kasha. How could you bring that first korban? It's not mutta be Yisrael. Amra v'ada barava kasav reish lakish. Ein mechusas man leboy bayoyim. Right? There's no mechusas man by bayoyim. What does that mean? If I can do something later in the day, it's not a problem. Later in the day, I'm going to bring that other oimer. That makes that shtickle in mafreya that the first one was good. If I look at the whole day, mechusas man of a day is not considered mechusas man. As I can view it we can view it time as what? As 9, 10, 11, 12, or I can view it as one day. Mechusas man by Kodshim, says Reish Lakish, is considered one day. So Memela, what's your problem? It's not Mutter B'Yisrael? It is Mutter B'Yisrael. Why? Because on that day it will be Mutter. Good. In other words, I want to be masber. Don't view it as time going on, and then you have a problem. At this point in time, it wasn't Mutter. At this point in time, it is. view the day as one entity. And therefore, since later in the day it would be, right now it's going to be. So that's his teretz. You want to know how that first carbon could be brought. It's going to the shirayim asa. It's going to be brought because later on in the day you're going to have a carbon bought lishma. You're going to have an oimer bought lishma, and everything is going to be fine. And since it's going to be fine later in the day, it's fine now. It's considered mashki Yisrael. How are we doing, fellas? Good. Okay. So Rish Lakish again. Okay. So that's the machlokes between Rav and Reish Lakish. I'm good at that, right? That's the machlokes Rav and Reish Lakish. That Rav says that you're out of the ballpark. Reish Lakish says you're stickle in the ballpark, but not totally in the ballpark. You're in the ballpark that the carbon's okay, but the shirayim's not eaten. How can you go ahead and bring back of the shirayim? It's not mimashki Yisrael. It's not mutter Yisrael. No, it is mutter Yisrael because ein mechusas man b'yon. Guys, geschmack, very geschmack. Okay, very gemara on that. Maser Rav Ada, but Maser Rav Ada bereder Rav Yitzchak. Now we're gonna question. Yesh ba'oifos Menachos. The Brisa says, you know what? There's certain entities that by birds carbonis that are not Menachos. Yesh b'Menachos by the flower carbonis she'ein ba'oifos by the bird carbonis. Yesh ba'oifos sha'oifos boyin b'nid vashnayim. Two people can bring, but in a partnership, a bird. Mincha guys can never be in partnerships. A limud. Mincha can never be. Mincha is only a singular guy. It's a good idea. Next, umichusrei kapara. Who brings the birds? People umichusrei kapara. Look at the parentheses. Zav, zava, yoledis, mitzaira. Again, very good thing to remember, fellas. What do all these have in common? The tumah comes from outside the body. It comes inside the body. It's tumah yotzei migufay. All of these are tumah yotzei migufay. That's mechusrei kapurim. Okay, so therefore these bring birds, depending on some lichatchila, some afilu. If they can't afford it, they're going to bring birds. For hutru mechal isurim, there's birds. They're muta bechal isurim. It's hutra bekodesh. What's asa behedyet? What does that mean? If you would do malika on a chulin bird, it's called nevela. You do malika on a carbon, hutra, it's hutra, the kachim is hutra, mechal yisa. That the fact that by a kachim, it's mutter to do malika, afal pi, they're asa. So that's a unique aspect of the oif. That what? It's hutra, the kachim, mechal yisa, b'kodesh. Mashenkim menachos, so those are the things in office of menachos. V'yesh b'menachos, shan minchas tu'unas kli, you need a kli shares. For a mincha, you need a kli shares. For guys, by malika, you don't use a knife. You use your nail, right? So there's no a shchita has the knife is a klishares. Malika, you use your nail. There's no klishares associated with the. There's no kabbalah. There's no klishares b'chlal by the oif. And tenufa, it requires tenufa by a mincha, hagasha, bringing it to the southwest corner. V'yeshnam b'tzibur could be yachid. There's no oif b'tzibur, fellas. Oif is only oilas oif and chatas oif. There's no communal bird. However, there's a communal mincha. It's called the mincha saimer. It's communal offer. Mashen came b'oifis. Okay, so that's the brisa. Now, what's your kasha? Vim isa, and if you're going to tell me that what? The loy chutra hachadash. If you're going to tell me that what? That the you reish lakish, that the chadash is not muta when you go ahead and bring it shaloi lishma. You're going to find that what? That yemutel lahakav the kaimetz shenikmas shaloi lishma. Here, one of the things that was permitted for the oif, even though it's asa, was the fact that you could do malika. Hutra b'kodesh, which wouldn't be right, which would not be permitted, be permitted by chulin. By chulin, that's called nevela. Now, you're telling me, Reish Lakish, the following. You're telling me, Reish Lakish, that the menachos that you mekayim shloi l'shma, that it doesn't matter the chadash, it's still asa. Nimsa, there is a place where it's chutz mechala. When you go ahead and bring that carbon, despite the fact that it's asa. The first carbon that you bring shloi l'shma, how can you burn the kaimitz? Ay l'chayre, it's asa. So here's a place of chutra, michal isura. right? Something that in the future is going to be mutter right now, right? Right. So l'chayra, you have a problem. The minchas oimed that was nikmas shaloi lishma. So even right, the guys, can the head eat it? Okay, I got a good husband. Let's go. The mizbeach eating it is the heter. No hedjit would be able to eat this right now. So you have a case of hutra b'kodesh, the fact that it eats the chadash, which the hedjit can't eat. So l'chayra, if you bishlema, if you tell me that it matters it, that's great because everyone can eat it. But if you're going to tell me it doesn't matter it, then you have a commonality between, or you have you have a commonality between oif and menachos. You told me oif is hut mechal kodesh, right? That mulik is mutter for hedjitz asa. Here also I have a place where hegdish is a mutter, burning the kaimitz of what? Of chadash. Where what? Where head you can't eat it. Ella must be that it's mutter completely. Kash and Rish Lakish. Did you get that? Okay, one more time. The Bryce is making discrepancies between oifis and menachos. One of the discrepancy of oifis was there's a din unique that for kachim it's mutter and for head it's asa. What is that? Malika. If you do malika on kodesh, it's an oilus oif or a chatas oif. If you do malika on a chulin, it's nevela. Yes? Good. Over here, can you eat chadash? No. It's asa, right? Good. So here I have kodesh. Am I eating chadash? Yes. You're burning the koimets. Can anyone else eat it? No. Why? Because you didn't bring the other one yet. So you haven't. So why do you tell me that oifos have that distinction over menachos? It doesn't have that distinction. Menachos oichit, you have a case of what? Where it's mutter hutzumachal iser. That everyone else it's asa, but by kodesh you can go ahead and eat the chadash. That's my friend. That's the kasha they ask on Harish Lakish. And for the Gemara, kiven de ein mechusas man leboy bayayim. Since there's no isses of chusas man bayayim, lavi surahu. Again, at this point in time, what are you saying, guys? Look, you're saying at this point in time, Chodesh is asr for the hedjit. It's not asr for the hedjit. Since later on in the day it's going to be mutter. Hastus right now it's mutter. Same teretz. Since it's not mechusas man by yoim, don't, and therefore you do have the distinction by oifos being malika b'chal iser. Mashenken, you don't have it what by menachos, because since later on in the day it'll be mutter. Hastus right now it's mutter. Okay, weiter. Maser Rav Sheshes. Rav Sheshes asks. Now, what guys? What do we know? What do we know about Mitzayra? On the 8th day, what he brings an asham. Yeah, he brings a chatas. He brings an asham. Brings an oila. In this asham, you're going to have what? Something unique. You're going to have him shechting the asham, putting blood on his toe, right toe. That's called behinus. After that, you're going to have a shemen. You're going to sprinkle it 7 times before the proiches, and then you're going to put it on his finger. What happens if you change the order around? Let's say you go ahead and you put the shemen on first. Let's say you do the behinus before you do the sprinkling. What would the din be? The din is going to be that you have to redo it. Fred the Gemara, what do you have to do it? Why do you have to redo it? Don't redo it. It's considered like, okay, in other words, view the whole day as one. If I'm viewing the whole day as one, there should be a hakpada on what? On Seder. Yeah? That's like Fred the Gemara. Maser Rav Sheshes. Now, guys, it's a different kasha. This is questioning the concept of a mechusas man ba b'yom or a mechusas man ba b'yom. The previous kasha was on Reish Lakish. Now we're asking on that Yisoid. Good? Now, Maser Rav Sheshes, higdim matan shemen lamatan dam. Again, you should put dam on first and you put shemen on first. Yimalenu shemen v'yachsav yitain. Fill up the leg again and put the blood on first. V'yitain shemen acha matan dam. Matan behoinus matan sheva. You proceeded and put it on the behoinus before you put it on the sprinkling. When the sprinkling of the proicha should go first. Yimalenu shemen. Go ahead, fill up the leg with shemen. V'yachsav yitain matan behoinus achas matan zayin. Uvi amrit emechusas man labay bayoim. Amai yachsav yitain. Mai da avid. Why do you have to go back and do it? Why don't you say whatever he did, he did? Look at guys. Look at Shita Tess. Look at Shita Tess. Amay yachsa v'yitain. Lema kibin hu yuma have koy lemichse sheyachal lachsa v'litain. Since the rest of the day it's possible to do it, sheyachal lachsa v'litain. Kilu have a high shaita dummy. It's like that time. V'nema maida of it, and say what he did. He did. In other words, let's view the whole day as that day, and therefore let's view whatever he did as done already, and therefore there should be a difference in Seder. Ella, the fact that you have to go ahead and redo it is a raya that we don't say mechusas man by bayom. And then if you don't say mechusas man by bayom, hodro kasha leduchte on Reish Lakish, how in the world were you able to go ahead and bring that shirayim, and bring the kaimitz? How can you bring the kaimitz? It's not mashki Yisrael. Bishleim, you tell me mechusas man by bayom, you're good. But once you tell me, there is considered mechusas man, and the raya that's considered mechusas man is you don't view as what as being done. So my David Ovid, Amra Papa, shiny hilchos mitzayra diksiva b'hu havaya. The Amar Hakosav zois tiye Torah mitzayra. Tiye, what does tiye mean? It should be azoi, meaning it has to be in its order. So really. Really, you shouldn't have to do it over again. But since it says, guys, look at me. Zois Taurus HaMetzoira, Zois Tia means Azoy state in the Torah, whatever it says in the Torah, in this order, that's what it has to be. But Einachinami, Ein Mechusas Man Babayoim, and therefore it's not a problem by a Shaloi Lishma of a Minchas Omer, even though it's not Mashki Yisrael, Ein Mechusas Man Babayoim, and considered Mashki Yisrael. So far, Reish Lakish will serve. I was incorrect in saying that it's not a kasha on Reish Lakish. It is a kasha on Reish Lakish, but it's not a kasha on the Shaloi the Shmo part. It's kasha on the teretz that he gave. It's kasha on. In other words, ultimately, it's going to lead back to Reish Lakish. We're leading back to that kasha. Says the Gemara, Masra Papa. Okay, now we know that he brings the chatas. He brings an asham. The asham should be first. Higdim chatas la shamay lo yehi acha memaris bedama. So let's say he brought it out of order. We don't have somebody stirring the blood there that it shouldn't coagulate. Ela tu'ubat surasa. You go ahead and let the chatas rat. You're not going to bring it. You let the chatas rat. It should lose its. Rashi says it should lose its lachluchis. It should lose what its moisture. And in Yiddish the term Kenny would tell you is fashimelt. It should get a little fashimelt look. It should a little bit of chveis, But tates the base sreifa, and you should and you should burn it, and you should burn it. So if you bring the chatas before the asham, right, fellas, let's fair ice. If you bring the chatas for the asham, there should be no reason to allow the chatas to get ruined and then burn it. You should say, and therefore it's considered like I brought it before. Yet we don't say that. So this causes a big problem in Reish Lakish. Because now we've proven yesh mechusas man b'bayim, and therefore, back to the original question, it should be mashke Yisrael, and it's not. Says, let's see it inside. Masira Papa. Higdim chatasay lashamay. The Tzara should have brought his asham first. He's bringing his chatas first. Lo yehei achem emaris bedama. Don't have a person go ahead and stir the blood till after he brings his asham. Elatu b'tzurasa. Wait overnight, and therefore it's going to lose its lachluchis and it'll become nicer. V'teitzel lebeis hasreifa, and you'll bring it outside Yerushalayim to burn. Amai, right? Okay, so now really the kasha is, why is Rav Papa going ahead and giving this kasha? Rav Papa said, this is speaking about Mitzayra. If it's speaking about Mitzayra, it says Tihiyeh. So fellas, just like there's a hakpada in the bringing the sprinkling the Zion before the Behoinis and bringing the Asham before the Chatas, right? Just like, guys, look at me. just like there's a din of bringing the dam on the finger before the shemen, and just like there's a din of sprinkling 7 times before the behind. Why? Because it says tiyeh. So what's Rav Papa's asking the kasha? He's the one that gave the teretz who said tiyeh. So you know why there's a hakpada on bringing the ashram first? Because it says tiyeh. Yeah? So what's his kasha? So since it says tiyeh, I have no option of going ahead wide and bringing the chatas. I have to let it go. So what's his kasha? Fred Gemara. Amai komosi Rav Papa. Why is Rav Papa asking this kasha that you have to let the chatas go to waste? And then bring the asham first. For a papa who the omar shiny hilchas mitzayra, how mitzayra is different. The ksiva b'hu havaya, because it says the lashon of havaya. So what's his kasha? In other words, not a problem, and therefore it's not a kasha of Rish Lakish. Yes, from mitzayra. Mitzayra is different. Mitzayra is tea. It's got to be that way. Ella rapapa hachi kashle. Here's the amai. Ema hani mili. When does it say what? Ema. Ella. Rapapa hachi kashale. Ema hani mili. When it says havaya, that's dafkal inyan avoida. Shchita is not an avoida. Shchita is not an avoida. And therefore what? It's of course it's kosher bizarre. We know a zor can do shchita, right? You don't need a kohen to do the shchita. A kohen could do a zor can do the shchita. The aim mechus is man leboy bayoim, right? Yehei achem emaris bedama. Someone else should go ahead and be memaris the dam. V'lkarev osham v'hodel karev chatas. Here's his kasha, guys. Here's his kasha. It says tiyeh einachinami, but that tiyeh would only go on what a kohen could do. If a kohen can't do it, then the tiyeh is not going on that. Okay, so we're removing that as a teretz. So now, what do we have in front of us? We have the shchita of a chatos before an asham. I don't have tea yet to tell me what? That there's a hakpada on seder. What's the halacha? You let the chatos go to waste. But one second, and if ein mechus is mal leboy bayoim, have someone go ahead, stir the chatos, bring the asham, and then sprinkle the chatos. But when we don't allow it, is the haraya that yesh. Okay, one more time. We asked the kasha. On from we see that yesh mechus man b'bayom from the fact that what? That if you go ahead and change the order of the behinis, of the order of the dam on the finger, if you change the order over there, it doesn't count. You have to go redo it. What do you have to redo it for? We should view it as being done already. Like, you know what? Good. Says the Gemara, no. There's a special limit by Mitzayra Tiyah. It's this hakpad in order. Comes along now Rav Papa, who gave the teretz of Tiyah, and challenges Rish Lakish again from Mitzayra. Why is he challenging from Mitzayra? It says Tiyah by Mitzayra. What's the challenge by Mitzayra? You should bring the asham before the chatas. You bring the chatas before the asham, right? What's the challenge? We don't say stick around, stir the chatas blood till you bring the asham and then spitz the chatas. We don't say that. We say it's gone. It says tiyeh. Okay, now, if Rav Papa asked it, there must be something over here. You know what it is? It does say tiyeh, but not on everything. It says tiyeh only on the things that a kohen can do. Something that a kohen can't do, like a zar, can't do that. That it doesn't say tiyeh. Oh, it doesn't say tiyeh. Okay, so then therefore, if it doesn't say tiyeh on that, now let's analyze. Im ein mechusas man lebay bayoim, then he shouldn't have to do anything, right? Go ahead, bring the chatas, bring the asham. It's great, right? Or even stir the chatas and spitz and then bring the asham. Doesn't say that. So the chatas is gone. You know why? Because the order, we don't say yesh mechusas man lebay bayoim. And you brought the chatas before the asham, and with passing the chatas is a raya that we are makbid, and that's the kasha and Rish Lakish. So now, in yesh mechusas man lebay bayoim, how could you bring the oimer shaloi lishma and say that it doesn't matter shirayim? So that makes it's not mashki Yisrael. If it's not mashki Yisrael, I'm not able to bring it. So we're back to the beginning of the Yomid, guys. We're back to the original kasha How can you tell me Reish Lakish that on one hand it's a good carbon, on the other hand you can't eat Shirayim? If you're telling me you can't eat Shirayim, it shouldn't be a good carbon because it's not Mashki Yisrael and you shouldn't be able to burn the kaimitz. Because the whole teretz was predicated upon Ein Mechusman B'Vayoim. You're destroying that premise by the fact that the chatas you have to let go to waste. So let's see it inside. Amai Kamasa Rapapa, Varapapa Huda Amar Shiny Hilchas Mitzayra, Dixiva Bahu, Havaya. It says Havaya. El Rapapa Hachik Kashla. Here's Rapapa's Kasha. A Mahani Mili Avoida. Right, that's when does it say Tiyeh on an Avoida? Shchita Lav Avoidahi. But Shchita what? Is not an avoida. Shchita is not an avoida. It's interesting Tosis over here, guys. Look at Shchita lav avoidahi. Tema. Ha'ika Kabbalah da avoidahi. V'dilma mishum Kabbalah hu de ka'amar shloi hei achem emaris bedama mishum dechsiv b'havaya. Kasha. Kabbalah is an avoida, guys. And the Havaya is going on that avoida. So what kind of teretz did you give? In other words, there was a Shchita, you're right, for sure, but there also was a Kabbalah. So if Kabbalah was an avoida and it's going on that, so what's his kasha? It doesn't say Kabbalah openly. In other words, the Havaya is on Vasas Geschriben. Havaya is what was written. What was written there. Yeah, that's like a ribbon, Kenny. It's like a ribbon. But what is written down, guys? What's written down, that what is it says Tia on, but not what's not. Very geschmack. Okay, so right now, l'chari we shlugged up Reish Lakish, right? Guy, good. You have to keep the paper trail. So l'chari we shlugged up Reish Lakish. So how, in fact, could you bring that carbon? Okay, so it's Gemara. Let's finish this Gemara. Let him go ahead and do it. Ella Reish Lakish is slugged up. Ella Amra Papa, guys. Ella, what does Ella mean? Get the whole daf. Elamra Papa, Hainu Taima de Reish Lakish. That what? That you could bring the kaimitz shaloi lishma despite it's not mat the shirayim. The Reish Lakish savar heir mizrach mata. Guys, it's not the carbon oime that matters the chadash. It's tesay and nissen that's matter the chadash. That you bring the oime is lemitzvah, but comes the morning. It's mutter to eat, right? They say that the streets of Yerushalayim were full of all the crops and everything was full, because boy bayoy matters it, right? That they waited for the oim is a mitzvah. The male is not a kasha. Forget the ein mechusas man bayoyim. Ein achinami yesh mechusas man bayoyim. Where's the mashki Yisrael? Because as soon as the morning came, that barley was permitted. As soon as the morning came, the barley was permitted. Right? Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish Nami Chavayu. I feel bisman shebeis hamikdash kayim. Even at the time on the base, even at the time when the beis hamikdash was kayim, heya mizrach matter. It's the heya mizrach is matter. Good, very geschmack. Let's see Rashi. Heya mizrach matter. The yudvav benisin on tezayin, right? Matter yudvav nisin matter chodosh dichsiv. At etzem hayom hazeh, and they give a targum, okay? V'hai, it's 4 lines down. V'hai dein shira necholim. The mitzvah. Why? So you can't eat the shirayim until you bring the oimer. He's asking a kasha, fellas. How come you can't eat it? The mitzvah lahamtim arbas oimer. It's a mitzvah to wait. It's a mitzvah to wait. It's a mitzvah to wait. Kiddush parshinon. We'll see later on in the Masechta. V'ksiv adav yachem u'mishaning lemitzvah. Guys, so we have a good teretz now, right? Let's go back. We began to share. Says Reish Lakish, you bring an oimer shaloi lishma, it's kasha, but you can't eat the shirayim. Kasha, if you can't eat the shirayim, how do you burn the kaimitz? It's not mashki Yisrael, and it's got to be mutal Yisrael. And for the Gemara, we wanted to give a teretz of ein mechusman b'vayoyim. We destroyed that teretz from Mitzayra, and now we're answering it that it's really the day of the oimer that matters it. So therefore, it's mashki Yisrael, it's mutar. And Mel is very geschmack. They didn't eat the chodesh till they bought the oimer. Mitzvah alma, according to Reish Lakish. The Reish Lakish that he says that it's mitzvah alma, that in other words that it's the day that matters it. La beferish itmar, el mechola itmar. We didn't hear it beferish, but we heard it from a klal. In other words, he didn't say it openly, but from a psak that he gave, we were able to ascertain what he said. Where do we see that? Detnan. Ein mevi'in bikurim uminchas behema. You can't bring bikurim, the 7 fruits of the grains of fruits of Eretz Yisrael b'shuas time, or minchas behema, the minchas tesachim that they accompany the carbon. You couldn't bring it from the tvua chadasha. You couldn't bring it from chadash. Kaidem la'omer, before the omer. You couldn't bring it before the omer. Vim heavy, and if you did bring it before the omer, pasal. It's pasal. It won't count. So suadin kaidem l'shtei alechem. If you bring it before the shtei lechem, which is the matid the chadash in the Beis Hamikdash, layavi, because it says by the shtei lechem carbon ratius. We say that this should be the first of the menachos that are bought from the chadash in that you put again. The minchas omer is bought from the chadash. It's for the barley, but the minchas wheat which is bought for bikurim is shtei lechem. That's the first thing. So it would be possible. V'im heavy, right before, if you bring it before the shtei lechem, if you bring a carbon before the shtei lechem from chadash, kasha. So guys, listen. The chadash, the barley of the omer matis chadash in the Medina. The shtei lechem matis the chadash in the Beis Hamikdash. If you bring a carbon chadash in the Beis Hamikdash, it would be, you shouldn't do it until the shtei lechem. But if you do it, it works, right? Kasha. Van Rabbi Yitzchak on Reish Lakish, loy shanu, if you makriv the mincha before the omer, that loy shanu, the din that you said by the omer. Guys, this is going not on the shtei lechem. This is going back on the omer. The im heavy, that Van Rabbi Yitzchak on Reish Lakish, loy shanu, that if you makriv a mincha before the omer, ella ba'arba asar b'chamisha asar, that's day 14, day 15. Aval b'shisha asar, on tezayin, im heavy kasha. Alma kasav Reish Lakish, that why it's matter. Looking back at the Mishnah we just read, let's see this Mishnah. Ein meviyim minchas menachos v'kurim, or minchas behema koydem la'omer. Good. Now, loy shanu on this din, fellas. Again, don't get distracted by the shtei lechem. That's not the raya. The raya is from this clause. So I'm sticking in it right now. When it says you can't bring minchas behema before the omer, that's if you bring it on the 14th of the chadash using the chadash, or the 15th of Nisan and use the chadash. What happens if you bring it on the 16th, even though you didn't bring the omer yet? Then it's good. So what do you see? The 16th day matter it. Shanu that if you bring the minchas nesachim from the chadash, it's no good because you bought it from the new grain. That's if you bought it on the 15th day of Nisan or the 14th day or 15th day of Nisan. What happens if you bring it on the 16th day of Nisan before the omer? Then it would be good. Why? Because to see the 6th day matters, and that's the raya to Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish said this din. So we're inferring from what he said rather than he stated openly. We're inferring the fact that the 16th would be good. Why would it be good? Because the morning of the 16th mattered it. The morning of the 16th mattered. Al Muksava or Mizrach matter. Okay, so so we have 2 shitas so far. We have the shita of Rav, Shaloi Lishma's Pasal. Shita of Reish Lakish, it's kasha, but it's the Shirayim, not muta. Now we have the shita of Rava. For Rava Amar, Minchas Oimish Akimsa Shaloi Lishma Kshera, it's kasha, and guess what? V'shirei nechalim. And the Shirayim is muta. Ve'enet tzricha minchas Oima Acheres Latira. That's it. Totally good. Guys, meaning no kasha. Kol ha-menachos, let's go back. Kol ha-menachos she-kamsu shaloi l'shma kasha ela shloi olu b'alam shem chayva chutz mi minchas oimer u-minchas kenois. Frag the Gemara, v'chayra, according to Rav, you're telling me, right? That was the kasha on Rav, right? Okay. L'chayra, it's very geschmack according to Rava. You're right. It's totally kasha. It's not only... Guys, not only shloi oil b'alam, it's kosher completely. You don't have to bring another one. You know why? Because shaloi lishma is not going to be pasul by the oimer, because it's not pigel by the oimer, guys. It says the Gemara. What's the reason? She'ein machshava mo'eles, machshava of pigel can only be elamisha royal avoida. It has to be the kohen and not a zar. Ubedava haroy la'avoida, something that's roy la'avoida as opposed to chadash, which is l'chayra. Bedava, it has to be that and dava that what, and something that is roy la'avoida. The Gemara will explain in a second. Uvamakma roy la'avoida. B'misha roy la'avoida lafuke koyin balmum. So if koyin balmum does it, it can't create pigul. Ubedava roy la'avoida lafuke minchas oimer. Delay chazi el la'avoida zu. Right, guys. Every single it's if you bring a mincha, what grain are you going to use? Any mincha, what grain are you going to use? Wheat. Guys, any grain you're going to use wheat, correct? Say yes. The only one that you use barley is what? We'll get to that in a second, Baruch. Put down that finger. The only one that you're going to use, what is by the Omer. The only one you use is by the Omer. Memela, the machshav of pigel won't work because it's not roy lekach. Memela, if the machshav of pigel doesn't work, the machshav of shalishma also doesn't work. In other words, there's no, just like pigel is a psul machshava, shalishma is a psul machshava to some extent, right? Says Rava, by minchas oimer, you do not have the psul machshava. You don't have psul shalishma, period. You don't have psul of shalishma, period. It doesn't exist. Why? Because it's not royal avoida. Because it has to be from chitim. It has to be from chitim. Okay, we'll see in a second about the minchas oimer. We'll see in a second. Ubimisha royal avoid lafuki koyin ba'mum. Uvdava royal avoid lafuki minchas oimer. And lechazi the chadashu. Uvamakam royal avoida lafuki nifkam hamizbeach. If the mizbeach was pogum at that period in time, machshava won't work. Okay, what does Rashi say? Ubedava royal avoida kikoyin minchas chitin. Av minchas oimer shal soirim ein ruya elo la'avoida zu belvad lahater. It only is by this avoida lahater. V'lo mishum korban asya. It's not really a carbon. It comes to matter, but it's not really a carbon. V'im mishum minchas saita. What are you going to ask like Baruch? Asked with his fingers. Minchas saita. You can ask minchas saita. Lavru uyehi. It's not really considered roy. The minchas saita kemach. Minchas saita is from kemach. B'shel oimer gorish, but the minchas oimer is from unprocessed barley. V'oid, the lava voidahi, that really the mincha of a site is not an avoida. The levara of an kaasya. The whole reason it's brought is to know if she was guilty or not. V'hai de posla machshava b'minchas kanoi. So why does machshava pasla if it's not avoida? Mishne rachmona kari chatas, because the Torah calls it a chatas. So the Torah calls it a chatas, but Mela, Rashi is mechadish that really it's minchas oim is the purpose to matter the chodash. That's what its purpose is. It's unprocessed. It's not like and therefore it's different. So you can't compare the two. This is the way he learns over here. Okay, so Memela we have three. Let's summarize, guys. We have three shittas, right? Rav totally gone. Reish Lakish minchas oim lishma good, but you can't eat the shirayim. And you have Rav is saying no, that there's no machshava to passel period, right? Since no machshava to passel period, shalai lishma. Therefore, the minchas oimer you be able. It's a good carbon and everything's great. Tarabanan. So now the Gemara. Guys, we're going to go off on a tangent now. The Gemara is going to go off on a tangent, and the Gemara is going to say we have a pasuk to mata a treifa. The Gemara is going to ask for not mata a treifa. You have a pasuk to aser a treifa by a carbon. You can't bring a treifa as a carbon. It's not a good carbon. The Gemara is going to ask the charetz a kal v'chayma. Why do I need a pasuk? Again, guys, this is the topic statement. We're going to have a pasuk to say that the treifa is aser. What's our rule of thumb? If you need a pasuk to tell you, it must be you think a treif is mutter. Fred the Gemara, I have a kal v'choyim to tell me a treif is asa. If I have a kal v'choyim to tell me a treif is asa, why don't we need a pasuk to tell me a treif is asa? Guys, you with me? Why would you need that? Let's see it inside. Tan Rabbana. Now the pasuk says, this doesn't say this in the Gemara. Adam ki yakrav mikem korban laHashem. A person brings a korban laHashem. Min behema, min baka, umin atzayin. Takriv ves kabanchem. From behema, baka, atzayin. Takriv ves kabanchem. You should bring your carbon. Im oila carbonoi min a bakar. And then it says in the next pasuk, if what? If it's an oila. So we dash in min a behema, that gets rid of roiva v'nerva, right? Min a bakar, that gets rid of avodah zara. Min a tzoin, if you're makatza, you set aside for avodah zara. And kishuoim min a bakar lamata, when it says it repeats im oila min a bakar. Why does it say min a bakar a second time? Shein tamid loymar. Ella lohoitzi es hatrefa. Minabaka is to go ahead, what? And be mitzi a trefa. Okay, good? Guys, so you set up. Minabaka is lohoitzi a trefa, meaning, without minabaka, I would say a trefa is a kosher carbon. Without minabaka, I'd say a trefa is a kosher carbon. Fred the Gemara akasha. V'alei dinhu, a kal v'chayma, that a trefa is not a good carbon. So why do I need minabaka? Guys, this is the next, to the end of the share, okay? Once you get this, everything goes geschmiert. Everything goes good. Okay? So again, once you tell me minabaka, minatrefa, it's mashma that what you say a trefa is mutta. Fred the Gemara, why do I need a pasuk? I have a kabel that trefa is asa. Says the Gemara, v'leidinhu. Uma bal mum shemuteres lehedyet. A bal mum, a hedyet could eat. You have a carbon that's not a carbon. You have a chulindika animal, it's mutter to eat it. Asur legvoya, it's asa to hegdish. Trefa, can a hedyet eat a trefa? She'asur lehedyet. Why do I need a pasuk min abakar? I have kal v'chayma that what? It's asa. Madach a balmum, which is muta behedyet. It's asa bekodesh. Trefa, which is asa behedyet. It's asa bekodesh. So why do I need a pasuk min abakar? Says the Gemara, I'm going to destroy your kal v'chayma. Chaylev v'dam yochichu. Chaylev v'dam will disprove you. She'asurim lehedyet. They can't eat chaylev v'dam. Umutim legavaya. Right? We go ahead. We put the chaylev on the mizbeach. And we schmitz tam on the mizbeach. So l'chor, you see what? You see that Ken sign that something that's asa behedyet is muta behegdish. Who I didn't treifa, it's asa behedyet, but it's muta behegdish, and therefore I need a pasuk min abaka to say no. Guys, you with me? Ayel yasmal chelev v'dam shekam boin mechlal heta. Chelev v'dam, good. It's asa behegdish, but the rest of the animals muta. In other words, you're not totally. You're bringing chelev and dam. You're right. But the rest of the animal mutter? Yeah. By treifa, the whole animal is asa. So in other words, the kal v'chayma is not a good kal v'chayma. In other words, you want to destroy the kal, so it is a good kal v'chayma. You want to destroy the kal v'chayma by saying, look, chelev and dam are mutter the hegdish and asa the hedyet. Yeah. Maybe it's mutter the hegdish, but look, the rest of the animal is good. But treifa, the rest of the animal is no good. So therefore, why do I need a pasuk? So in other words, I'm restoring the kal v'chayma. Time of a treifa shkula surah. Okay. V'leite muteris legvaya. V'leite hey muteris legvaya. Therefore, it shouldn't be mutter legvaya. Maybe you take that out. I don't know. Do you do this over here? Makes no sense what they're doing over there. Okay. So I think Malika Teichicha. Malika would disprove you. Shekula Isser v'Isur lehedyet. Right. So by Malika will disprove you. Right? Malika will disprove you. Why? How's Malika right? The Malika, it's Kedushasa Malika Tegashakula, the whole oif that you do nimlak is also been available by Hedyet. Visur Bachila the Hedyet, Umuteris Legavaya. So I'll destroy your Kal V'chaymer. Good. Malika. Do Malika on a bird. That's you go to the cockfight and go ahead and do Malika on a bird, right? You can't eat it, it's Nevela. Do Malika in the base of Mikdash, a chatas if you could eat. So you see that Hegdish is more makel than Hedyet. Who adin linyan treifa, maybe it's more makel, and therefore I need a pasuk to asa. Right? That again, this is the well, it says no, Malam and Lika, what do you say about Malika? Kidashta Isarta. That's magdish it to the carbon, Isarta it ases lehegdish. Mashen came betreifa, she'en kedushasa Isarta. Rashi learns. We have machlekes Rashi and Taisuf. So let's do Rashi, guys. Rashi says she'en kedusharta Isarta. Go down a little bit to the left. V'davashu kodesh legavaya, the haina malika, bo ne'eseres lehedyet. It's the act that makes it kosher for the carbon. You have a chatas oif. You're going to do malik on the chatas oif. it's going to matter the meat. You do malika on a hedyet, it's going to go ahead and asa the meat. The act that matters the meat by Kaddish, the malika, is the act that asses it by hedyet. Good? And that's the Haina malika, bo not sarta lehedyet, aval treifa, ena kedusha lehedyet, ena kedusha, mishum treifus, and therefore, why don't I need the pasuk? In other words, I destroyed the kal v'chaimer. Guys, what was the kal v'chaimer? Malika, you find malika is muta by hegdish and asa behedyet. So too, treifa, I'd say, is muta behegdish and asa lehedyet, and therefore I need a kal v'chaimer. I need a pasuk to tell me no. What kind of kal v'chaimer do you have? The malika, the act of malika matters the hegdish, and that's why it's muta. The act of malika asses the hedyet. The male of my kal v'chaimer is intact. If my kal v'chaimer is intact, why do I need the pasuk to go ahead and why do I need a pasuk to go ahead and asa treifa? Why do I need a pasuk asa treifa? Okay, so it says the Gemara. Mashak en came a treifa shein kedushas adam. Now the im he shafta, and if you can ask a kasha on the kal v'chaimer, right? Kishu oimer min abaka lamata shein tam aloy meloy treifa. So the Gemara says now, and if you're going to slug up my kal v'chaimer, then I have the pasuk to tell me it's us. Now, what the Gemara knows, what would you say now to slug up the kal v'chaimer that you need a pasuk? They may shafta, and if you can ask a kasha my kal v'chaimer, again, what's the kal v'chaimer? Madach treifa, madach balmum is asa is muta lehedyet, is asa legavoya treifa, which is asa lehedyet, einoitin is asa legavoya. That's the kal v'chaimer, right? And if you can ask on that kal v'chaimer to slug it up, and you need a pasuk, okay, now what's the kal v'chaimer? When it says it may shafta, what does that mean? Okay, what is it? So Amarav. I'll tell you what a shafta means. Mishum deikel meimon yekal v'chaimer minches ha'omer toichiach. The minches ha'omer will disprove you. She'asura lehedyet chodesh is also lehedyet umuteres legavoya. Yes, guys. How do I slug up my kal v'chaimer? By showing hegdish is more kal than hedyet. The hedyet is more chomer. I just did it. Minches ha'omer chodesh is asa to who? To the hedyet, but it's mutter lehegdish. So who I didn't treifa that I need the pasuk. I'm repeating myself a lot of times, but it makes sense, right? Again, you want to keep the flow going. In other words, here's my kal v'chaimer. I'm going to destroy the kal v'chaimer. I need a pasuk. No, it's not. The kal v'chaimer is still intact because I have a pircha. Okay, now, so your kal v'chaimer right now has been destroyed. How's it been destroyed? Because we find hedyet more chomer and hegdish le'yin mat minchas ha'omer chodosh. Ayeles malam minchas ha'omer shekein materes chodosh. Minchas ha'omer, it's right. The reason why it's mutter legavoya because it matters the chodosh, and therefore mashenkin treifa. There's no heta to gavoya. There's no heta whatsoever. So therefore, okay. And I'll tell you what. You know what it's speaking about? It's speaking about the minchas oimer of the Shemitah year. The minchas oimer of the Shemitah year is not going to be matter the chodosh. So therefore, if it's not going to be matter the chodosh, I have a good kal v'chaimer. If it's good kal v'chaimer, then I don't need the pasuk, right? Then I don't need the pasuk. It says shvita nami shekei materes sfichin b'shvius. The sfichin means the aftergrowth, guys. That in other words, you didn't plant that year, but the brecklach fell in the ground and it grew, and you know what? That is going to be mutter al yedei the chodosh. So therefore, since it's mutter al yedei the chodosh, therefore what? That's why it's mutter mashenkein hedyet. Rabbi Akiva, like Rabbi Akiva, damas svichin asurim b'shvius. Svichim is us in the Shemitah year, so therefore it's not mattering anything. So therefore it's not mattering anything. So therefore I destroyed the kal v'chaimer. Therefore back to the original question: what do I need the pasuk? Then I need the pasuk for. I do need a pasuk because I don't have a kal v'chaimer. So I'm le'avacha bar abba l'Rashi Rabbi Akiva nami lifrach malam minchas ha'omer shekein materes chodesh b'chutz laaretz. So matters chodesh b'chutz laaretz, and therefore what? I don't have a kal v'chaimer. It comes chodesh the chutz laaretz lav deraisa shekein bo lahatir lav shebesoicha. It comes to matter the lav. It comes to matter what? The lav that's inside of it. It's gonna be matter the lav that's inside of it. Okay, what does it mean matter the lav inside of it? Right. According to Rabbi Kiva, there's two dinim. There's a Shemitah dikadin, and there's a Chodesh dikadin. So even if you can't eat it because it's a Shemitah dikadin, the chodesh will take off the lav. It'll take off the lav of chodesh. The oimer will take off the lav of chodesh. So you only have one issa. So again, you have shmita. You have. There's two reasons you can't eat these things. One, it's a shmita, and two, it's chodesh. When you go ahead and take off that issa of chodesh, right? You're doing something. In other words, the carbon oim is doing something. Mashenkin treif is not doing anything. So therefore, your kal v'chomer is not a kal v'chomer. And since your kal v'chomer is not a kal v'chomer, what do I need the pasuk for? Okay. So amalei ravachim ediflu ravina ihachi. That's not a kasha on the kal v'chomer. Treifa nami takriv v'tatir lav shebesoicha. Right. Go ahead. Be makriv the treifa, just like the chodesh is going to take off the oim is going to take off this chodesh. Being makriv the treifa will take off the lav of a treifa. Oh, if that's the case, I don't have a kal v'chomer. If I don't have a kal v'chomer, then I need the pasuk. So therefore, lav ella, you want to go ahead and shlug again, guys. We are looking for a kasha from the kal v'chomer to shlug up the kal v'chomer. Ella parachachi ma'ale minchas ha'omer shekei mitzvasa b'kach. It's a mitzvah to go ahead and matter it, right? And you can't bring from the yashan. I have no other choice. I have no other choice, right? I have no other choice. And the mela, since I have no other choice, you can bring it. Mashenkin shreifa. So the mela what? That's the kasha, guys. What's your kasha? Your kasha is we find that minchas ha'omer is mutter for the hedyet, and it's mutter lehegdish and also lehedyet. That's the mitzvah. Mashenkin treifa, there's no mitzvah. The mela, I don't have a kal v'chomer. If I don't have a kal v'chomer, I have the pasuk to mata to say it's asa, to say it's asa. Now, so why do we need a pasuk? I think we're going to go ahead and stop over here because this goes on. It goes on. It goes on. We'll pick it up Mitzvah Shabbos, and again, we're going to be dealing with that kasha, guys. We're leaving off with a kasha. If I have a kal v'chomer, now madach hegdish, but madach hedyet, balmum is mutter by hedyet. It's asa behegdish. Treifa, which is asa behegdiet, ein idin, it should be asa behegdish, and I don't need a kal v'chomer, and I don't need the pasuk of min abaka l'hoitzi asa treifa. Mashma without the pasuk, I would say it's mutter. We're asking kal v'chomer. Right now we have no kal v'chomer, so we're holding right now at a standstill and the original kasha.